alumni of the college I went to help spearhead those efforts. How far down do you go? Does that program go into the high schools? Does it connect with the junior high schools? How far down does it connect?
Well, right now, we're going to be connecting with the high school. We do a program through Young Professionals called the Dollars and Cents program, which is 100th edition, right? Which is what he talked about earlier, creating a financial model for high school kids. Again, you know, our young professionals, they're accountants, they're attorneys, they're lawyers, they're doctors, you know, so they're at all different levels. But again, you know, that's a program that they own, and we decided, you know, just because of revenue, to adopt a high school versus trying to have it across all high schools.
Okay, thanks.
Ken Harris, while you're
Yeah, absolutely. One, I just want to commend Ron Busby for vision and even bring this to the forefront of a national agenda. So thank you so much, Ron. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But more importantly, we stand on tall shoulders, and obviously you letting those young folks in Miami stand on your shoulders, Brother Diggs, so we appreciate that. But I even want to go even further with Natalie because I just believe not only are you one of our brightest leaders nationally, but globally, but you're setting the example. And sometimes we forget, on my board of directors, again, 50% of my board is under the age of 40. And they're not in training. They're not emerging. Ramia Burbank is 37 years old, and she runs a $90 million company. That is you, Natalie. If you weren't in your job today, I can see you running a $90 million company because you got the skill set, the education, the training. You come from a historical background where you know your history and you can connect the dots. Now, with all that being said, we know that there's no success without succession. Wisdom and youth have to work together. How our community has been divided and conquered is that the generations have been separated. And now we're finally connecting the generations from Ron Busby to Brother Diggs to you, Natalie. How do we engage a community like Martin Luther King, like Booker T, like Huey P. Newton, like W.E.B. Du Bois when he got his PhD, was 25 years old. All these folks were in their 20s in the movement and in the struggle. So as an African-American community, not only are we having educated medical doctors that are 27 and 28, the brightest of the world in the countries are disengaged from entrepreneurship. How do we go after those folk and bring them into our chambers, the best in their chosen endeavors, the intellectual diaspora of which you just spoke about? How do we connect them effectively? Because again, Brother Diggs, you hit it right on the nose. My board member, who is the Dean of Michigan in business, who's 78 years old, said, Ken, I'm not trying to go to the mailbox. That's your job. I want to make sure that I call the carrier and that the package is delivered. That's my job because I've been around the circle. So how do we get to a point where we connecting A to Z with the least amount of gray hair and stress, and everybody wins, and more importantly, the world is flat. Technology is it. If you don't embrace technology, you will be eliminated, period. It is online fundraising and donations and all of that stuff. You know the answers, Natalie. Tell us how we can do this thing. Thank you, sister.
Thank you so much. I mean, you know, to me, I think it's important from the perspective of the chamber, to have large corporate players that you can bring to the table. I mean, I think it brings a level of credibility to your organization. People want to know who you're engaged with. Who are you already talking to? Who do you have access to that I don't have access to? Right. Because if you're bringing me the same social capital that I already have, then there's no real value proposition to me to invest in what you're doing. And so, you know, again, for me, it was very important that I connected well with our large corporate members in Austin. And I wanted to make sure that I could bring them into the fold. The other thing that we also started doing was meeting them at their business. So I don't just ask people to come to me at the chamber. I go to these companies and I speak at these businesses. I speak at Dell. I speak at 3M. I speak at IBM. And I'm talking to their employees. And in a way, the chamber has positioned itself to be a valuable partner to even my corporate members. But as far as entrepreneurship, and I think when you're talking about the creme of the crown, they want to see that.
That's right.
They don't, you know, they're not they're not playing, so they don't have time to be wasting with things that they think are not important. And so if you can't bring me immediate value, if I'm in a tech startup and you can't tell me about venture capital, you have no relationships with certain organizations, my chamber is not gonna be the one that you wanna join.
That's right.
Somebody else is going to be more attractive to you. And so I think as the chamber president, it's our responsibility to make sure that we have relationships that are above us. And to not necessarily ask to be at the table, just show up.
That's right. That's right.
Here's the other piece too. I think that one of the things we do are developing young professionals. For me, especially when you have a budget, you have, employee responsibility. When you're running a chamber, you kind of become a control freak. You like, okay, listen, this is my brand, and no, don't answer the phone that way. And wait, what time do the event start? You got this? Let me go over here and make sure that's going well. But for some reason, I had to let go.
Let go.
With these young professionals because they started having events like every week, and my chamber every month I have a breakfast series, I have an evening series, and then I have a networking event, right? So those three things: program. So once a month I have a strong 4 events, and my young professionals were like, "You can't be everywhere that we're at."
That's right.
Because they were having an event every week, and I had to say, "All right, let me sit down with you and let's go over the structure. Here's what I expect your agenda to do. I expect you to deliver, I expect you to survey, and I expect you to make sure that you create the media brand that is going to be representative of this chamber. So here are the things you can do, here are the things you can't." And then after that, I had to let it go.
Yep.
But don't get me wrong, I said inspired. So that's my leadership group. My leadership group, they know. They've got my home number, my cell number, and after every event, the captain of the event has a responsibility within an hour after being over to call me. And all I want to know is how did it go?